right, let's jump into things. Where are we at? It's 25th of March, so last trading week for the month, last week of the month, and where are we at? 10:43. So look, I'll sort of start off with gold because this has been quite a decent little trade last couple of sessions. A lot of sort of chop, but very much sort of suits that sort of in-out sort of style of trading, which is obviously majority of sort of what I do. So like just a little recap of that Friday sell down, bang, we got the move down here. I got out of like 3001, which as you can see, absolutely maximized this sort of trade down here. Dribbled all the way back up, closed, caught a couple of shorts early yesterday. But this is the move that I was really looking for. Like this move, as you can see, this is mapped out over the weekend. Of course, these are price levels, not necessarily sort of time levels with it all, but up into this zone here is where I was saying I'd like to be sort of shorting it again. I didn't get right up into the 30s, but the high 20s definitely. I had a couple of positions in that, which sort of played out very well overnight. As you can see, it really started to move back down, and we tested that sort of 3,000 zone again. So 3,000, was it 3,002? So, slight little tick up in that from Friday's lows. But regardless of it all, it is obviously sort of starting to confirm a little bit of this, what we could almost use as a downtrend channel. So look, it's not, as I keep saying with these things, it doesn't mean that gold's necessarily going to 2,700 or anything like this. We're not looking for those kind of moves. But what we are trying to capitalize on is, are we selling rips? Or are we sort of buying dips? And for me at the moment, I've been selling the rips, as I've been saying. Sort of, I've been sort of short through this period here. This really, if you step back, could just be a sort of pullback towards another leg. I do believe that we are going to 31 to 3,200, but as I've said a number of times, it doesn't mean that we can't come down, sort of 29, 29.50s, these kind of areas, prior to getting that move back up there. We have sort of got a little bit of a sort of wedge, which obviously we overthrew a little bit here. It's not, I suppose it's got a couple of connections through here, so it's not too bad. But certainly, I think downside over here is where we could expect sort of market to kind of at least test to sort of shake out some of the longs and provide a better sort of long position to get back in that, because this thing's been screaming hot. It's been failing a couple of times up above this 3,000 area, and I sort of covered this a couple of times last week or the week before in that, where you look back at the times that gold's gone past 1,000 before my time, but certainly past 2,000. It took a number of times for price to be accepted above 2,000. And if you look at the chart, the beautiful thing about the charts is you can have a look back. You can see the historical sort of data, so to speak, sort of to sort of see, look, how long did it take to be accepted above there? And it certainly took a little while. So the idea that it's going to go above 3,000 and then just keep rocketing up over here, I mean, look, anything can happen. Nothing's 100% in this, but most likely you're going to see a lot of people sort of, this is a bit of a distribution kind of thing. And, we had the three drive at the top and into, like, if you wanted to call the head and shoulders or whatever you want to call this sort of thing, however you want to trade it. Look, it is starting to sort of slightly sort of dip down. We're getting lower lows, we're getting lower highs, back up above sort of 3,040. Take out these highs, and then, back up around that sort of 3,045 on with the show. But at the moment we're at 3,010, and I think the risk is more for the price to be sort of dropping down a little bit lower. So we can see there's quite a nice little defined line we got going through the middle here, whether it be sort of 3,005 or whatever when it first tested above here. This is the next sort of confirmation level for me. Friday night lows. Yesterday's lows, buys are obviously trying to sort of hold it around this area. I took some profit on positions there. So, of course, when people are short, and I'm not saying my positions move the market, but I'm saying that people that are short, that are trying to move DCs collectively, and that, if enough people are sort of closing their positions around that 3,000, you're going to get a little bit of buying pressure with that kind of stuff as well. So I think under this level here should be a nice easy move back down to 29.80s. As you can see, it was a fairly smooth little move as it moved up sort of through here. So I'm just going to put a little alert under this. Target 29.80, a $20 move down to the bottom side there. Excuse me. Which actually, so as I write that, there was a little video that I sort of recorded last time we were under 2000, and it was perfect because it came down to 1980, and I was like, oh look, I remember because I remember, so I've sort of recorded and put it on a couple of things, sort of saying, look, there's a little $20 move, but this is where you want to get long, and that was the bottom, 1980, and it never returned back to that level. Obviously, a $1,000 move since then, over $1,000 move actually, because of 1980 up to 3050 is $1,070 move, without revisiting that level. So it was very much perfect play, perfect time to record it, perfect time to call those levels. But that's the thing, exactly. It's not my style, and it's all very well to sort of say, oh, wow, I could have made all this, blah, 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 blah. It's whatever. It's That's not the style, that's not how I trade. Anyway, look, what we're looking for at the moment, downside confirmation, as I just said, underneath 3,000 really, just call 3,029.98. I think once you get down here, we'll see that little move down to this little price target, 29.80s. See what we do there, because we can see that, the market sort of priced it here a couple of times recently, so we're expecting probably something similar down over this area for the buyers to be sort of sitting around here as well. Underneath there, we could get to that. We'll get to that as we get to it. First things first, 29.80. Expect some sort of reaction from here, whether it sort of be a decent sort of bounce back up and then sort of back down. Who knows? Whether it's sort of just a sort of smaller little bounce up and then sort of down like this, or whether it just sort of comes back up. You know what I mean? Like there's no sort of way to tell necessarily how hungry these guys are to sort of buy this thing back up. Do they want to squeeze people more out? Do they want to sort of come back down to other levels? I think they do. I think we will sort of see a little bit lower. I think this rising support, hence where these little arrows are sort of coming to, I think could sort of get a bit of a touch up. Doesn't mean that it's necessarily going much lower, but I think certainly if they want to really squeeze people, you take out these kind of technicals because other people will be looking at this as well. And this is kind of like a bit of a rising wedge, a rising triangle kind of thing you can see, and a bit of an overthrow of this. If you get overthrow up here, plus break of this wedge over here, that's going to get a little bit of panic set in. And people are going to go, oh, geez, well, it's coming down. Again, look, I think there's levels of support all the way through here, particularly through this chop zone over here. But, a next sort of reasonable level, should you break that, could see you down 29.25s. So I think that's your next. I was like, why do I have this price target? The price target's the actual falling rising resistance, but that would be your next little level. I would say, should you break this level here? So let's put a little directional arrow so we understand what this is about. But that's your kind of move. Should you break through this rising support here? But as you can see, we've got buyers here. Obviously from that little bottom one down here. That's going to be a crucial area. So it's either going to be a bounce back up from this, like this, or a move down from there. But that seems to me to be a bit of a sort of little crucial area for price to move to, which means, we got a lot of little chop up and down in that in the meantime, but, we've still got 40 bucks to visit this area. But to me, that's kind of sort of looking like a reasonable kind of zone, give or take a couple of bucks. But at this point, you're right on the, so bear with me. Yep, you're right on the 50% of this last leg up. You got this rising support through here. A couple of bucks either side of it all. You've got these previous highs. So around that sort of 60 to 70 area, I think that'll be quite crucial. But first things first, this target here down at 80s, watch for some sort of reaction. Second effort through, won't go through first time. You'll definitely get some sort of reaction around this area over here. If we drag this across, no, not really anything for us there. I reckon that's kind of your sort of first target. As I said, I've got a price target down here. See where it bounces to after this, then this will be the crucial make or break at around 29.70s. if we do get down to this level here. Top side, as I said, look, really till you're above 30.40, I'm not really sort of too concerned about things. This is a little bit of a pullback channel, but again, if you look at it, this is could just sort of be leg one, leg two, re-attack for the highs. So there could definitely be a push back up, and this move could work in a wave like this, and we could be seeing this important third leg, double top, higher high, lower high, and then sort of see further corrections from that point there. But 29.80 is the first level that I'm sort of looking at there. While we're on metals, may as well do silver as well, because we are seeing silver as this is the sort of plan to sort of come back up over to this area and then sort of sell down for a little bit further. And we're starting to make our move back down here. Similar sort of thing that we want to sort of see in terms of taking out Friday's lows. We'll sort of move back down towards that sort of 32 target. This sort of being the sort of, falling resistance, nice little back test here, snap out anybody that bought this and didn't take profit. Hit some sort of technical stops and that with these areas. If you do get down under here, as I said, that's what 32.60 down to around that 32.60 cents move. I think sort of would be a fairly decent little move just down through here. And yeah, that's the short side that I'm sort of playing through there with the metals. So we'll sort of see. Certainly, I think if DXY continues to kick on a little bit, we'll see a little bit of the flows come out of the metals, which will get those targets hit. DXY really sort of showing its squeeze price action, and I've covered a number of times here. So yeah, it'd be interesting to sort of see how this sort of eventuates through the week. We've got PCE at the end of the week. Which I'm still actually, like, I'll be honest with sort of hands up in the air in that. PCE, I'm sort of not, I don't really sort of trade off it a lot. CPI I do, but, and I don't really get the sort of the full nuance difference of the two. CPI obviously being sort of the measure of inflation, and then PCE being the sort of like targeted at the products that the individual buys or something to this effect. And I'm like, okay, interesting. But yes, it's something I definitely I need to sort of brush up on a little bit more, because they do say that this is what the Fed looks at the most. As I mean, it always sort of seems, or it's always sort of been put forward that the CPI is the biggest sort of market mover, and it definitely seems to be. But end of the week, PCE, so it's something to watch out for DXY certainly. In terms of what we're talking here, so let's stick on silver. Have a look on the 4 hour. Yeah, you can see that this wants to sort of roll over. I think sort of an early indicator would be a close underneath sort of 32.80. I mean, even if we put like a little thing through here, and you move this one up here and say close under here, H4 close under. I think this will be yeah, I think that's probably an earlier indicator. So basically, if we get a close under here, which is 32.80, you're looking to target and fill that wick, break the wick, then we move down here. So you've got to break these levels to get to these levels. Obviously, it's a no sheet kind of sort of thing, but I think certainly that'll sort of show that it wants to go down a little bit further. It doesn't look like the kind of thing at this point which is just going to turn around and go whoop, and shoot straight back up to these highs over here. Certainly, look, I said, look, 32.70 was the level to hit, and that was a great bounce. But I didn't take it because it was late Friday night, and I was just like, no, this is the time I buy something, and then I sort of turn around, I'm like, why did I do that? Friday night, come on, just take 5 minutes off. I was closing my gold shorts. Anyway, long story short, I think this looks like RSI's back up into that mid-range, ready to just roll over a little bit further. It's just sort of cooled it off a little bit, and now it can push back down, which can give price a chance to sort of maybe push back down and take out those lows there as well. Top side, look, if you get back above 33.30, you might have something in it, but you've still got this falling resistance to deal with. So I think there's a lot of areas up here where the market would be knocking it back. So I would say at best this kind of area, yeah, 33.30, I'd still be cautious. Really 33.60 above here, I would say you've got a chance to move back up. But really, like that. Till you get there, I think this is more the sort of the direction that we're going to continue pulling back for. And certainly, look, you know what I mean. Like as I said, I didn't take the buy set. That would have been fine for me. I mean, it's a solid bounce, particularly with the SA session. I mean, you moved up sort of like from the lows from 70 or 65 or whatever up there. So you got about 60 cent move, which is almost 2%. So, you know, that's not too bad a little setup there. But as we can see, it's kind of just been sold into, and I have the feeling this is going to come down here. So if I can get a buy around this area, around that 61%, 32, 32.11, that's why I'll put a buy zone just down through here because I'll be giving it a shot from this level. Put buys here into the buy zone and then see if we can get that bounce up there. For me, that's a lot better of a sort of like place to be sort of long from. All right, take along. We've got DXY obviously to sort of cover. And this is the thing, DXY played ball beautifully. And like what I sort of have been saying with this, these are the levels where we expect to see the reactions. And yes, we have seen the reactions with the market from these points. This, as I said, I thought it was going to see a reaction, and it did. Why? Because we've seen it previously up over here. But the thing is, it's not a sort of super crucial level. And I don't think this little one-time push up here is enough to go, oh, yep, that's right, let's value it, and that's it, that's a top here. One thing that DXY does when it squeezes, and I've said this, and this has actually been very profitable the last couple of sessions and that. So I'm sure there's a lot of people that have been going, nope, that's it, well, here we go, we turn over. I've, in what I consider paid for these lessons by way of sort of getting absolutely rocked around, and you know taking some losses and that. So I've seen this stuff happen before. I know the DXY squeezes like this. I know it sort of starts to roll over. Looks like it's coming down. Boof, this yesterday coming back down here. Boof, shoots back up, shoots back up. This is the kind of stuff, and this is why you trade a couple of markets, because you know that this is how it plays when it squeezes. And I think a lot of people would have been caught out with this. So, you know, I'm not shocked. I don't think this is done. I think this is your price target first up here, 104.75. I think that there's potential, depending how the data and everything comes out, that we even overshoot this, that we maybe sort of come up and test the underside of this previous zone over here, 105.44. There's a lot of people that are trying to sort of, you know, keep hammer the shorts, hammer the shorts. You know, this thing is going to keep squeezing up and squeezing those people out, rocking them. It doesn't mean that, okay, we're going all the way back up over here, but it does mean the pain trade is up here first. And I think this is going to see a little bit of a continuation. So I'm going to put an alert just above here. I'm going to say through Monday highs, targeting 104.75 price targets. Only 30 cents off now, 30 points. So I reckon this could definitely sort of get a little bit of a move up, and we can see how this will sort of react with the other markets that we're trading, and see how many people they want to squeeze out. As I said, I expected a reaction here. We got it. I don't think it's a top. I think the measured moves 38%. That's going to probably have a little bit of a deeper correction on it, but you've still got another nice little whack to move up there to sort of hammer some people out should this sort of move come. All right, downside. Look, again, I'm still looking, unless you really back down underneath 103.70. I still think this is potential to keep grinding up. So I'm not really looking for sort of downside confirmations at this point. Aussie, little bit of a dribble up yesterday. Didn't quite get there. Came in perfectly on point. I was actually talking to a mate and I was saying, look, above 63.05, you'll see this thing move. He was looking for a topside move. I was looking for a downside move. Hit 60, what do we hit here? 63.09, 63.09 or something. You can see up top over in this number here. What do we have? 63.049. Yeah, it's like a tenth of a point. You don't get any tighter than that. Didn't hit above that 63.05. No squeeze. Sold into, bang, and it moved back down. If you have a look at this on a lower time frame, it's actually not too bad because it was a nice little sort of grind up channel sort of through here. A couple of good shorts and that through yesterday, and then obviously sort of a couple into the end of the session. So I actually got some off and low 73, low 70s, like 72, 73 down here. And then obviously ripped all the way back up here and just rinse and repeat. And bang, 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 drag those down there again. So look, I do think we're probably sort of heading a little bit lower. It has a little bit of a spurt up here, but I think while sort of DXY is in potential sort of squeeze mode, even though Aussie's not part of the DXY, I have a feeling that's not going to be sort of, it's not going to be exempt from that kind of movement. We don't have any sort of super sort of strong data for Aussie. Well, certainly not this session, but there's nothing sort of in the camp of Aussie being, wow, you know what? It's stronger than the US dollar buying across the rest of the board at the moment. So look, we'll have a look at it. China, which I'll get the yuan, I'll get to in a second. That's sort of yuan weakening, but that chart obviously sort of grinding up there a little bit. And all these things, as I said, they all flow together and they all sort of come together with that sort of cross chart confluence. So look, I think if you could get above, again, look at 63, this is the level you need to be. Get up above here and you might see a bit of a move. But for the moment, I think the risk is really to come down to these 62.30s, 62.20s. We did have the second buy zone down there if they really want to shake this thing out. If you can get down 61.90s, I'd have a good little buy from here. This is the kind of area that I would like to sort of get long from probably with a decent little whack. Which obviously means another almost 100 points down, 1.4% or so. Look, it's not necessarily going to get down here. I'm just saying that if it does come down here, I'm going to be ready for it. In the short term, it does look like it's pullback. It's trying to chop around this zone here. I think take out, same sort of thing like with the metals take out. So does that Friday's lows? Yeah, Friday's lows down here. It's grinded back up, push back down. I think if we take out, look, this is a little zone to say a little bit earlier because obviously the buyers stepped in here yesterday. But really, underneath 57, where we've got this alert, that's when we're going to be saying that we're sort of coming down a little bit lower. So we'll sort of see how these things sort of play out. We're pretty light on the news. There's actually nothing coming through Asia at all today. We've just had the monetary minutes. Policy minutes from BOJ, and that's about it, I think. Yeah, there's nothing else sort of happening through Asia in terms of data. Australia does have the budget coming out. The budget coming out tonight. I don't know how or if this will affect anything. Something to keep an eye on at least as well. But as I said, I think the risk is for more downside here. Flip along, we've got copper, took out those highs. What an absolute beast of a thing this has been. If we have a look there, the previous highs from last year, 10577, kind of like job done. It has really just been such a rip, this trade, all the way through here. Pullbacks, pullbacks, pullbacks. I was obviously just watching like a deer in headlights as I was like saying, look, come down over here, bang, this is the thing. Look, I still think this does have the ability to sort of cool off a little bit. We'll have to sort of see how things play out, but I think sort of underneath that little dip low, put a little alert here for what it's worth. Watch for cooling. Just watch for cooling. Watch for cooling down to buy zone. I don't think this is like a major top and the game's over. But certainly, there's a lot of, this has been a massive move. I mean, from the lows down here, there's the thing, here we go. I mean, look at that. That is just an absolute beast of a move. Excuse me, 30% from January. 30% move. Wow, 18,000 points. 18,000, 1,800, 18,000. So I had to sort of work out with these sort of things over here. Big, big, big move. So look, it's due for a bit of a cooling. It's not to sort of you don't move, 30% of your market and think that okay, yeah, if it pulls back down here, this would be less than 23%, and it's game over. But certainly buys down in this zone would look a lot more attractive to me because it could still come back deeper, but as I said, I'm not going to be buying the top, and I've said I'm not going to be chasing up over here. So a little bit of a pullback, a little bit of a cooling will just make me sort of feel a little bit more confident with the buys, a little bit lower here. Cool, and one, and this is what I've been calling this little grind up here to move up. I think, probably could have a little bit more to go. Same sort of as I said with, DXY. I think that could sort of really sort of push up a little bit more, and I think that's going to translate across over here as well. I don't think this is the turnaround. I don't think this is the thing that we go through and break out to all new highs. But as you can see, they've defended this support line a number of times. It was getting ready. There was the two outcomes. One, it was going to dribble, drop right off, or it was going to squeeze up here. And that's what we're seeing. We're squeezing. It's catching a lot of people off guard because this thing, lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. The reason I've kept both of these on here is the idea that people see this. And this is a technical sort of way that things drop off edges. Like a ball. Boom, 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 bang. So what do? They see that people would be trading this, and they jam it up the other side. A couple of headlines, a couple of justifications, and somewhat sort of to sort of say, hey, you know what? Let's buy this thing up. Maybe China's looking a little bit weaker. Maybe the housing market's kicking into bad situation again. Maybe the sort of US, as we're seeing, and the tariff stuff's going up. Whichever, whatever. But this thing is still moving up. So we had a headline out yesterday, which is quite interesting. If you want to unpack the movement here, where were we? This was where we opened yesterday, and perfectly timed headlines of the tariffs maybe sort of cooling off and maybe going sort of a bit easier, and of course that's good for China. Bang, there's the strength of the yuan. What happens? Shoots back up to the top side. And this is the thing. It's sort of like it's a melding of sort of news headlines and price action. And you need to be aware of both. You need to sort of be able to comprehend both. And because whether these things are true or not, they move markets. And when people get sort of stuck in a certain way of sort of thinking, and they think that like what, it's not going to work or it is worth it, whatever. You miss these trades, you miss these moves. I mean, Aussie moved up yesterday. Okay, yuan's moving down here. What does it do? It offers you a better level to trade your plan. And that's the thing I was doing. I was trading Aussie. I was trading Aussie to the short side. Yuan was strengthening. Aussie pushes up. Gave me a better level to sort of short Aussie from. Same with gold. And this is the thing, sort of like whether the moves are real or whether the headlines are real or not, this is the game we play. These are the markets. These are the things that move it. And so that's fine. Use it to your advantage. You're not going to change it. That's my sort of feeling with it anyway. But as you can see, look, it's still grinding. I think it's got a little bit of movement still to go. Look, as we know, this is not a super fast moving, not a super fast moving pair. I think sort of certainly back up to where we've seen those sellers previously, and maybe a little overshoot even to 728. This area over here will be your sort of sell zone. I think this is where we sort of see sellers sort of sitting up along here. See if I've got this saved actually. Sell zone. I think that'll be where we see market sort of push things back down. That means a little bit of upside here, which goes in line with Aussie potentially come down a little bit lower, gold coming down a little bit lower, DXY sort of moving up at about the same time, copper cooling off a little bit, and they all sort of seem to be sort of flowing together. There was some very sort of odd correlations happening yesterday. We were sort of seeing some markets risk on, some markets risk off. And that, again, in itself is a good sort of way that you can trade things because you know that something's lying. These things can definitely work independently of each other, but at the same time, the opportunity lies in the fact of how they should act. That most likely 90% of the time they act this way. So when they're acting erratically and the correlations aren't working as they should be, that's the opportunity to sort of to really sort of attack the market a little bit more. And that's what I did. I was short silver, short gold, and short Aussie, and all of those just paid off beautifully yesterday. All right, so I think that's pretty much it for the charts. And also, as I said, I don't think there's really much on the news. So if we have a look at where we are, let's refresh this one. As you can see through the session today, just nothing. Yeah, very quiet on the news front on that. So going through tonight, not really anything to sort of take away. So I think pretty much price action will be sort of key through here. If we see sort of DXY continue its little move up higher, I think these things could have another little leg lower. And I don't see any sort of thing that may sort of actually swap that, that may sort of change that direction. Obviously, we'll wait and see. But you kind of sort of feel once the sort of ball is rolling, unless you've got something to counteract it, like a little bit of news or even a headline could come out of nowhere, that could sort of change things. But unless we get those things, you kind of sort of think that it will just keep its course till we sort of find something that's moving in the opposite direction. All right, that's it from me.